Thank you for your interest in TargetPRO, an extremely flexible framework for tracking and sorting targets for any game developed for the Unity game engine. It is component-oriented and highly optimized for performance, so all you have to worry about is what is happening in your game. As with all Pathological Games middleware, you'll find complete documentation, code reference, support via our community forums, or email at support@pathological.com. Getting started is fast with the Target Tracker component. Choose which layers you want to detect, your sorting option, use the non-rendering gizmo to visualize the target tracker's perimeter. This is the area where targets will be detected. Choose from several different shapes, and even offset in translation and rotation. To make objects on the target layers detectable, add the targetable component. This also provides events and cached information for use in scripts. By turning on the debug option and starting the game, we can already see this is a complete setup. This has a lot of practical applications. The target tracker could be your character and the target could be an enemy, or the perimeter could be just big enough to cover the character and the target could be an item that you want to pick up. The target tracker could be an enemy and the target could be the main character so that when the character walks into range, the enemy attacks. The target tracker component is implemented as a custom list type, so you could attach a script, access the component, and use it just like a list that is dynamically sorting and contains as many or as few targets as you wish, as determined by the options that you set in the component. However, as you'll see in a moment, there's a lot more you can do with TargetPRO. This simple script uses two events of the targetable component to change the size and color of our target as it enters and exits range. TargetPRO's Fire Controller component is extremely versatile. It automates the use of the Target Tracker component's information to trigger events and send information to targets so they can behave accordingly. With just a few clicks, this Fire Controller is sending an event every 1 second to the nearest target in range, as shown by the debug gizmo. You can define one or more effects for this on-hit event. In this example, I'll add a single effect called damage with a value of 10. These values are arbitrary and generic enough to define any event you can think of. I edited my target's enemy script to add a parameter life and registered a delegate that detects when the damage effect occurs, subtracts its value from life, and when life reaches 0, the game object will destroy itself. Let's take a deeper look at the Fire Controller. First, I'll set up the turret to look at the target using a couple of smooth look at constraints from the Unity constraints package. One for the Y turret and one for the X turret. At this point, the turret will only look at the target on the left because it has been drag and dropped directly onto the Unity constraints. This script uses the Fire Controller's target update and idle events to set the constraints target transforms to the current target of the Fire Controller. The turret is pointing at the closest target, but it's still firing every time the interval reaches 0. To fix this, I'll turn on Wait for Alignment and drag and drop the barrel of the gun to be used as the object to align with the target. I'll also drop on a shuriken particle system to be automatically spawned when the gun fires. Now that Wait for Alignment is on, you'll notice gizmos have been added to the debug to show the angle calculations. The gun won't fire until these align based on the tolerance setting on the component. The demonstrate TargetPRO's projectile, I have a simple piece of geometry with a box collider parented under a game object. Adding the projectile component also adds a rigid body. Choose which layers you want to hit, detonate based on hitting a target or anything on the layer, based on a timer, or when the rigid body comes to rest. You can specify hit effects for this projectile, or allow the fire controller to pass along its effects. After creating a prefab, the projectile can be drag and dropped onto the ammo field of the fire controller, and we can ask the fire controller to pass along its effects to the projectile. Now when I play the game, you'll see the fire controller is spawning our projectile, and it is inheriting the effects from the fire controller. This script uses projectile events to accelerate towards the target, and a Unity constraint's smooth look at constraint to turn towards the target. The projectile component is derived from a target tracker to provide the area hit option. When the projectile detonates, this internal target tracker will be activated to capture a sorted list of targets in range. If you choose to notify targets, they will have complete and easy access to this information through the target struct provided in the onHit event. This video barely scratches the surface of what TargetPRO can do. We call it a framework because it has an extremely deep and convenient API that, when combined with the component architecture, makes it flexible enough to be used in any game. We enjoyed using the system so much in our own game development that we decided to release it. We hope you'll try it, and we'll see you on the forums.